We'll call the Wicomico County Council Legislative Session number 2023-13 in order for July 5th, 2023. Those that like to stand and join us in the Lord's Prayer and Pledge of Allegiance, please do.
Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Entertain a motion from council to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion or corrections? Any at all? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Consent agenda is approved unanimously. This time we have a proclamation. No, we have two proclamations. The first one is for Claire Lewis in recognition of competing in the Nationals in Perry, Georgia for goat tying, and this is going to be presented by Vice President Baker. And if you want, go to the podium to accept it. Anybody from the family can join her. You can come out here and you can take pictures. You don't have to be bashful. Just no, I don't have to really. If you want to come all the way up to get if you need to get a good shot, don't worry about us.
Mr. Butler's going to be in charge of that.
Sounds good.
So I get the honor and the privilege to present this proclamation to Claire Bear. That's what I know her by. So it is with great pleasure that the county executive and members of the Wicomico County Council extend this certificate of recognition to Claire Lewis for being 5th in the state of Maryland and 148th at the Nationals and a state delegate at the Nationals and top 90 in the world in goat tying. We congratulate you on your accomplishments. Done this 5th day of July 2023.
Thank you. Kurt, if you want to turn that to you.
You want to say a few words?
Yep.
Help yourself.
I'm Tanya Lewis, Claire's mother. We have
There you go, Claire.
group of individuals that came out for her. We have her principal, Chris Gosnell, if you could please stand. We also have Thelma Lewis, one of her sponsors, her grandmother. We have Bill and Dorothy Laird, my parents, who are also sponsors for her. But Kurt Walbert came out tonight. He is actually going to rush from here to a fire meeting because he is a man that wears many hats. So I would like for him to very quickly just explain to you about the Maryland High School Rodeo and the aspects and the educational background. And there are so many students in our county that participate in extracurricular activities, and Kurt makes sure that they are rewarded and recognized for that. And I want to thank you very much for doing the proclamation. Claire is going to the 8th grade at Pittsville Elementary and Middle School. She's the only Wicomico County Public School junior high student who was a first-time qualifier at the Nationals in Perry, Georgia. Mr. Kurt?
Hi, guys. I'll be real quick. I'm sorry. Didn't have anything prepared. My name's Kurt Walbert. I'm National Director of Maryland High School Rodeo. Maryland High School Rodeo is part of the National High School Rodeo Association. Maryland, we have about 60 kids that participate in rodeos all around the state. Nationally, we have about 16,000 kids, involved in this organization. So, Maryland's growing. Like I said, we're 60. I remember one time there was 17 kids in Maryland High School Rodeo. So we're super proud of Claire. She did a really good job representing our state and our association at Nationals. And I leave Tuesday for Wyoming for 11 days for the high school rodeo. So busy time for everybody. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next proclamation is to recognize the month of July as National Parks and Recreation Month. We have our illustrious director, Mr. Steve Miller, Director of Recreation, Parks, and Tourism, to accept the proclamation.
So this is a proclamation for National Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas the Parks and Recreation program are an integral part of communities and the vitality, it's important to establishing and maintaining quality of life, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. And whereas Parks and Recreation programs provide recreation services to improve the health of citizens and build healthy communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease. And whereas Parks and Recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased tourism and attraction and retention of businesses and crime reduction. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for citizens to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month and recognize the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now, therefore, the Wicomico County Council and County Executive hereby designate the month of July 2023 as National Parks and Recreation Month in Wicomico County. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes, Steve. It's good to see you.
Just very briefly, Mr. President.
Take time.
Yes, members of the council. Thank you for the proclamation. We feel recreation parks is very important, but I want to thank members of the council for supporting Parks and Recreation, for supporting the many projects that we have going on. It's a very exciting time in our department, and most of all for supporting the people that really make our department and the things that we do special. So I appreciate the proclamation on behalf of the staff and employees. We thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
I'd also like to recognize Megan Out from Salisbury City Council's here with us tonight. Glad to have you here. Thank you very much. Mr. Mitchell, good evening.
Yes, this is a public hearing to amend the Wicomico County Code, Chapter 59, Personnel Rules, Section 59-15, Accidental Disability Benefit. Mr. Wilbur is here as a county attorney to also comment on this if necessary. This is a public hearing.
This time we open the floor for public hearing on legislative bill number 2023-05. If there are any comments that you'd like to make, come to the podium, please. State your name, your county of residence, and your concerns. This is in reference to public hearing of legislative bill 2023-05. Seeing none, that concludes the public hearing. Entertain a motion from council to approve legislative bill number 2023-05. This will be by roll call, starting with Councilwoman Shields.
Aye. Yes.
Councilman Merritt.
Yes.
Vice President Baker.
Yes.
Councilman Nguyen.
Yes.
Councilman Hastings.
Aye.
Councilman Holloway.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Legislative bill number 2023-05 passes unanimously. Mr. Mitchell.
Yes, there's going to be a series of resolutions, and before I begin with them, I would like to point out that the reason they're coming forth is the Wicomico County operates under an executive council form of government, which by its very nature invites divergent ideas and at sometimes disagreement. And the charter provides various ways to try and smooth that over, not necessarily to get agreement, but to have everyone follow particular rules and procedures. And the council finds that it is going to take these matters up in large measure in order to try and adhere to the charter and maybe put things back on track. So the first one is Resolution 85, 2023, a resolution confirming Matthew Leitzel to serve as the Assistant Director of Administration in accordance with the Wicomico County Charter.
Any motion from council to approve Resolution 85-2023?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Resolution 85-2023, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed.
I need a total because I didn't hear everybody. Who was opposed?
I wasn't here when with that interview, and from what I saw, it was not a consensus to move this forward, and I was kind of confused. So I think it was a consensus to not forward it.
Right.
I don't think it was approved because he had from what I was reading, he didn't have the background that we were looking for, and apparently there were other candidates that may had something. We only had one presented to us. And again, I have to say, sitting on the city council, we looked at several candidates, but just throwing one at us did not give us a choice in the matter. And I still think the process, I always say the process, we should look at everyone. If it was 5 candidates that applied, we should have been able to look at all 5, not just the one. And I think from his background, he has more of a law enforcement background. And from what I read in the job description, we need someone with public law administration, or public administration, governmental law. You know, have something where they just can go in and do the work and learn our way of doing things. But apparently, when you deal with law enforcement, the mentality doesn't change, especially if you've been a law enforcement for years. You have that law enforcement attitude, and I'm kind of worried about his attitude toward the public.
How does that appointment process work, Andy? Does the executive present someone and then we get to choose the person, or do we just confirm them? How does that work?
Well, first, I was going to, it's not actually a correction, but just point out that Ms. Shields was using the word present, and that may be appropriate. That the charter calls for the executive for certain positions, this is one, to submit the name of their choice, their appointment, and then it has to be confirmed in an open legislative session by the council.
It has to be submitted in legislative session.
Right, that's correct.
It says it needs to be submitted in legislative session?
Well, it has to be submitted for the council to act upon it in legislative session. So in this particular case, when it was submitted with a specific request that it be, it wasn't submitted, it was presented with a specific request to be put on the agenda in closed work session. So it was neither legislative nor open, and it was never brought back again. So it's my opinion it's never been submitted.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out, because we approved for minutes on appointing this person. It says it in the minutes for closed session.
No. No. First, you got to keep in mind, in closed session, you cannot vote on anything.
Right.
You can get an informal opinion and things like that. It may tell somebody how you think you're going to go, but you could vote one way in the work session and the closed work session, and then more information comes out, you could change your vote. It's not a formal vote.
So you're saying to make it formal, the executive would have had to have resubmitted it again?
Not resubmit, submit.
Okay.
Would have had to submit it to the council with a request for confirmation. That wasn't done. It's not, the charter says that the executive will submit this for confirmation.
Right.
So it's not the council's role to go figure out who should be submitted. If the executive submits, someone for, even not submits, but brings it to the closed session, and then listens to what the discussion is and what questions are, they may say, well, wait, we still want this person. We can answer your questions. We'll get the background, come back to you. Or they could say, we hadn't thought of that, and maybe we should get somebody different. But whoever comes before in the closed session, there's no reason that the executive can't bring a different person forward in formal legislative open session and ask for their appointment.
No discussion. All those in favor of Resolution 85, 2023, with the confirmation of Mr. Leitzel, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Nay.
Nay. Chair votes nay. Resolution 85-2023 fails by a vote of 6-1.
The next one is Resolution 86, 2023, a resolution confirming Heather Langford to serve as the Director of Public Works in accordance with the Wicomico County Charter.
Motion from council to approve Resolution 86-2023. Second. Motion second. Any discussion?
I had a question. Now, the question is, was she submitted for Director of Public Works or Acting Director? Because I don't think she was ever, does it matter? Like, are we just voting on?
Yeah, let me address that.
Yeah.
There actually is a question as to which, because it came up as Director and sort of after the fact was pointed out that maybe it was supposed to be an extension of her acting position. It was never really clear. But again, it was only in the, it didn't come up in, she wasn't submitted in the normal fashion, the correct way that the charter requires to be voted on as Public Works Director. And in fact, she wasn't, and she's not been put up to be the Public Works Director. The issue is, this is what I meant in that statement, that the council's trying to clean some of this up, because they don't want some idea floating around that someone may have been submitted when the council's not aware of any submission. And so they're taking the position, and Mr. Leitzel's situation, and later on in another one for Ms. Langford, they are in a position, but they've never been confirmed for it. So they're just making it clear that you can't serve without being confirmed.
Trying to make a clean slate of all this.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out which one to vote for, because we've got 3 spots where Heather Langford's on here, and I think she'd be great for acting director. I mean, deputy director. I think she'd be great for deputy director.
The only problem there is there is no such position recognized in Wicomico County as an acting deputy director.
Well, we had an acting county executive for 2 years.
Executive, not a deputy.
Purchasing
Not
agent.
an acting deputy director.
Didn't we have one for human resources too, acting?
I think so the challenge being, I guess, is, and in my 5 years of being on the council, we've seen the county council be burned more than a few times by having an appointment put in for someone to serve who would be a great deputy in a position. Right. But what ends up happening is that we only approve a deputy, and then there's never ever a actual director put forward. So this puts the council in a really bad situation in the sense that we can't really, unless we know that we're going to get what we actually want, which is a director of public works. It's hard to move forward with a deputy director. I think Ms. Langford would be a great deputy director under the guidance and leadership of an individual with certifications and with leadership to be able to lead this. But once again, the council is left in a really bad situation in the sense that we have no guarantee that we will ever actually have a director of public works. So that's a kind of a tough situation. And not a good situation for us to be in or for the county to be in.
And the charter requires that the executive, within 6 months of election, appoint or submit for a confirmation these certain positions. And there's provisions for what to do when there's a vacancy, but it's intended to be a vacancy that happens afterward. But occasionally it would be an early vacancy. But there, like Public Works, there is no one submitted. This position for Mr. Leitzel, there's no one that's been submitted. So that's where we are.
For discussion. All those in favor of Resolution 86-2023 say aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
Yeah, I'm going to abstain because I'm not I'm not too certain.
That's fine. We have Resolution 86-2023 fails. A vote of 6 and with 1 abstention. 6 against with 1 abstention. Mr. Mitchell?
This is Resolution 87-2023, a resolution confirming Heather Langford to serve as the Acting Director of Public Works in accordance with the Wicomico County Charter.
A motion from council to approve Resolution 87-2023.
So move.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Excuse me, I have a question. Why is all these positions for her on? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Can you use your microphone? Because
Oh, I'm sorry. Why are all these positions for this one lady, Ms. Langford? Why are all these positions put up for her?
In part, it's because she was brought in a closed session, not actually submitted, but the request was for the directorship. But then later on, the executive's offices indicated, and I think this is correct, that they intended it to be an extension of her acting director. But then she's been, and I put it in quotes, appointed the acting deputy director, and as you heard the council president say, there is no such thing, but there's nobody in between. So the council's trying to clear up the fact that there is nobody in between.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions? All those in favor of Resolution 87-2023 say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Resolution 87-2023 fails. Vote of 6-1.
This is Resolution 88-2023, resolution confirming Heather Langford to serve as the Deputy Director of Public Works in accordance with the county charter.
Motion council to approve Resolution 88-2023.
So move.
Second. And discussion.
Yeah, I thought the last one, I'm sorry, I thought the other one was for her to be Deputy Director. I'm sorry.
That's okay. The last one is the,
It said Acting Director. I thought it said Deputy Director.
right, this one is Deputy Director. The last one will be Acting Deputy.
Okay. All right.
Any discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 88-2023 say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Resolution 88-2023 fails. Vote 6 opposed, 1 yes.
And this is Resolution 89-2023, resolution confirming Heather Langford to serve as the Acting Deputy Director of Public Works in accordance with the county charter.
Any motion from council to approve Resolution 89-2023?
So move.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
I oppose it.
Opposed. Resolution 89-2023 fails with a vote of 5-2. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Good evening, Mrs. Hurley.
good evening, Mr. President, council members, ladies and gentlemen. Before we proceed, can we look at the legislative bill 2023-05? We don't have any record of a first and second. We have the roll call vote made, but not the first and second. Can we redo that vote, please?
Which one was this? I'm sorry.
It's number 1 on your agenda.
I'm sorry. What was it you didn't have?
The first and second, the motion to approve.
Who gave the motion to approve legislative bill 2023-05 and who seconded it?
That was my motion.
That was your motion. Who seconded it?
I think I did.
Shannon?
Okay, I apologize. Thank you.
No, okay. Thank you.
Okay, so next on the agenda is resolution number 90-2023. This is approving a priority letter for the Maryland Department of Transportation's fiscal year 2024 through 2029 Consolidated Transportation Program. Council held a work session on this request on June the 20th, 2023.
Thank you, Ms. Hurley. Entertain a motion from council to approve resolution 90-2023.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? As Mrs. Hurley said, we did have a work session on this previously. All those in favor of resolution 90-2023 say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes unanimously.
Next is Resolution Number 91-2023. This is confirming the appointment of Timothy R. Bosman as Director of the Wicomico County Local Management Board, also known as the Wicomico Partnership for Families and Children.
Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 91-2023.
So move, or second.
We all straight?
Yeah, aye.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes unanimously.
Next is the submission of 4 reappointments to Wicomico County School Building Commission and 1 appointment to the Wicomico County Commission for Women. In accordance with Charter Section 315, titled Confirmation of Appointments, the county executive has submitted several reappointments to the School Building Commission and an appointment to the Wicomico County Commission for Women. The School Building Commission makes recommendations to the Wicomico County Board of Education, the County Council, and the County Executive on the planning, design, and building construction, rehabilitation, and maintenance projects in county school systems, as well as reviews building design, specification, and contracts prepared by the architects, engineers, and/or contractors. The Commission for Women is a nonpartisan organization dedicated to enriching the lives of women and families by focusing on issues of importance and concern to them, including education, economic opportunities, healthcare, social issues, and legislation. The Commission advocates for women and advises the county executive and county government on all areas of concern. Next is the approval of the consent agenda for the boards and commissions. You have Resolution Number 92-2023, confirming the reappointment of Amanda H. Pollock as a member of the Wicomico County School Building Commission. Resolution Number 93-2023, confirming the reappointment of Bruce W. Patterson as a member of the Wicomico County School Building Commission. Resolution Number 94-2023, confirming the reappointment of James R. Thomas, Jr., PEFACEC, as a member of the Wicomico County School Building Commission. Resolution Number 95-2023, confirming the reappointment of Keith P. Fisher as a member of the Wicomico County School Building Commission. And Resolution Number 96-2023, confirming the appointment of Michelle Hardy as a member of the Wicomico County Commission for Women.
Thank you, Ms. Hurley. Entertain a motion from council to approve the consent agenda on the boards and commissions, appointments and reappointments.
So move, second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Consent agenda is approved.
Next for your consideration is Resolution Number 97-2023. This is declaring the official intent of the county to reimburse expenditures paid with respect to the Mardella High/Middle Renovation Addition Project, the Wicomico County School Roof Renovation Project, and the Parkside High School Roof Renovation Project from proceeds of tax-exempt obligations. According to bond counsel, some of the Board of Education bond projects will be paid prior to the closing on the bond, which is currently scheduled for October the 31st, 2023, and then the projects will be reimbursed from the bond proceeds. This resolution is to preserve the county's ability under the federal tax code to use tax-exempt bond proceeds once issued to reimburse the project expenses. And we have our Director of Finance here, Pam Olin, if you have any questions.
Okay, motion from council to approve Resolution 97-2023.
So move.
Second. And motion is second. Any discussion? Any questions? Seeing none. All those in favor of Resolution 97-2023 say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes unanimously.
Mr. President, that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Hurley. Mr. Mitchell.
Sorry. This is Legislative Bill 2023-10, an act to amend Chapter 225 of the Wicomico County Code titled Zoning, Section 225-12, entitled Lots Divided by Zoning District Boundary Lines to allow the use in a zoning district that covers the majority of the land area of a parcel to extend over the entire parcel. And I believe Mr. Pusey is here. Should you need him, he's already been before you.
Correct. Entertain a motion from council to introduce legislative bill number 2023-10.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Any Any discussion? Any questions? Seeing none. All those in favor of the introduction of legislative bill number 2023-10, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Legislative bill number 2023-10 has been introduced. Mrs. Hurley will be having the public hearing, I guess, in the next meeting.
Yeah, so we can have, well, not the next meeting, we can have it on August the 1st at 6 p.m. We have to allow time for advertising.
All right. Thank you.
This is legislative bill number 2023-11 for introduction, an act to amend Exhibit B, Exhibit C, and Exhibit F of the annual budget and appropriation bill, legislative bill 2023-04, adopted June 9, 2023, to remove the salaries for the Assistant Director of Administration position, the Director of Public Works position, and the Deputy Director of Public Works position.
In a motion from council to introduce legislative bill number 2023-11.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion.
Is this, I don't know if this is the direction we should be heading to remove these salaries, but I'm just wondering, let's just say if these individuals do get hired and it's sorted out, legal figures it out, what then happens if we remove their salaries?
The bill as introduced says that the salaries will be removed from the budget until such time as the position is properly filled.
It would take, correct me if I'm wrong, it would just simply take a transfer from contingency on the part of the council with a request from the executive. Is that correct?
Right. As I understand it, unless the council and the executive agree, the money goes into sort of a holding pattern until there's a time that they do agree, or this kicks in, or the budget year ends.
Yes, Josh.
I guess the only question there, do we need to be clear as to process, as to how to submit? Do we need to be more clear in this legislative bill as to the process for which the county executive will submit a name to the county council? Or do we feel like this is sufficient, what's currently put through here?
I think the executive and Mr. Wilbur, they should both know the process, that it's going to be a request for transfer from contingency to that particular department, and the council will make that decision in a legislative session. Once that's done, then the funds will be recognized and the position can be filled, and they'll be hired. It's not a lengthy process. We wanted to make sure it didn't have to be a legislative bill that could be done by resolution. Shane? Mm-hmm.
To be clear, I was referring to the process to which to submit a name, and then which we would then council approve on it, so that we could be very clear that, you know, the council obviously wants to have these positions filled as quickly as possible, and we want to make sure that the process of which is set forth in the charter is followed. Now, there may not be as much clarity as we would like in that, or some may feel that way, I should say. Regardless, this situation, this particular bill is put forward to make sure that we can, at the right time when we get these positions filled, that we can then allocate to make sure that they are funded and we move forward. I think what we have here is clear enough as to the process, but I at least wanted to bring that up to make sure that we all felt comfortable, that we understand exactly, that it's very clear as to how the process works on the executive side as well as the legislative side, and then we can move forward. But I'm comfortable if others are.
If the submittal is made to the council as is in accordance with the charter, then the council would then, I would say, you know, we could have a work session ahead of time, as we normally do, to kind of, you know, meet the person, decide yes or no whether we'd like, you know, to move forward with the recommendation. At that point in time, it wouldn't be impossible for us to actually vote for the hire and for the transfer of the funds in the same exact meeting.
I'll just, if I can make a comment, the money would not necessarily come from contingency. If the county executive and the county council do not agree, then the money goes into the use of prior year fund balance, I believe is the way the charter is written.
Okay.
And then it would have to be requested to be taken out of that and approved by council when the position is filled.
So in a sense, it goes into reserves.
Yes.
Okay.
I just was, I had just another question. So, okay, we do this. If she brings someone else forward, are we supposed to, is she supposed to bring us 5 people forward all at one time, or one person? And then
The charter does not require that. It's not necessarily a bad idea. And
Well, I'm just trying to figure out.
no, the charter just
process
says
here.
she picks her appointee
Right.
and says, this is my appointee, I'm submitting him for confirmation.
Right, and if the person is qualified and has all the qualifications, and the council says, no, we don't want this person, and then they say, no, we don't want this person to the second person that they bring. I'm just wondering, like, you know,
Yes, in theory, it could go on for a long
yeah,
time.
that's what I'm worried. I just don't want to see the positions not getting filled because we, the council, and the executive may not have the same vision of the county.
The charter doesn't provide, if there's a deadlock, it doesn't provide which one wins.
Right.
You just have to follow the procedure.
That's my concern.
All right.
Just part of the legislative process, James. You know, you have 2 bodies of government. You have executive, you have legislative form of government. And the purpose for that is so everyone can agree as to what they think the best decision is going to make, because we're all responsible. We'll all be working with that individual. And in many cases, it's a 6-figure salary. So we want to make sure we do have the right person there. And we have to represent the public as well to make sure it's the best
Right.
interest of the public.
We also need to make sure that, you know, the 8th Declaration of Right and the Maryland State Constitution says that we need to be separate and distinctly different. And I just want to make sure that we know our role in staying distinctly separate from, I mean, you can read it yourself. It's the 8th Declaration of the Maryland Constitution. But it says that we are to be distinctly different. And I just want to make sure that we know that we're not the executive branch and we're not making these I mean, like, we need to be there for the confirmation to make sure this person is qualified, not clinically insane or anything like that. But at the same time, the executive branch, in my opinion, I mean, you know, when the president or the governor submits someone to the legislative body, there's an appointment process. And
You ever watch a Supreme Court nomination process?
yeah, it's pretty grueling. But, you know, you kind of see what I mean. It's separate and distinct. I just want to make sure that we're not trying to take the reins of the executive branch and say, this is what we want, hire this person or not. I mean, I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm just saying I just want us to all make sure that, you know, that doesn't happen.
I don't think this council is doing that.
Well, I'm not saying you're doing that. I'm just saying that there's a potential that it looks like we're setting ourselves up for it. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think we're, go ahead, Joe.
You know, I understand what you're saying, Mr. Wynn, but this council has a long history in the short amount of time that the county executive's been in office and the short amount of time some other council members, has a long history of approving appointments. I mean, we've approved 19 board and commission appointments that we've confirmed and approved. We've approved 5 directors that we've approved, that the county executive has brought to us under the right procedure, okay? These were brought to us under the correct procedure. So there's 5 directors that we've approved and confirmed. 2 deputy directors that were brought to us under the right, correct procedures that the county charter dictates. We've approved. 7 reappointments that were brought to us under the correct procedure that the charter dictates that we've approved. So far, there's only been 2 that we've not approved.
I was just raising the question.
But anyway, we're not here to obstruct the process in any way, you know, or the laws that are in place. We're not here to create any animosity, James. We're just here, we're exercising what I consider to be our obligation, our right to make sure that certain decisions that are made by the government as a body are legal and are done in the best interest of the public as a whole. It's kind of like, it is how the democratic process works. And hopefully we are a little more productive than they are in Washington, D.C., right? Yeah. So I don't think you can ever allow just sort of the proclivities of one individual to supersede the governing body as a whole. That's why the process works that way, where the submission is made and the council either approves or rejects that recommendation. So, Josh?
I would say to James' point there, the difference between the various branches of government and who has power to do, authority to do what, the legislative body holds the purse. So we are the ones who approve spending and how, and we want to make sure that what we say is going to be spent, and the money is going to be spent on, that it's actually spent on that, and that we've gone through the process that we've set forward. And I don't know how long it's been since we've had a director of public works. Anybody know?
Been a long time.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
So I would love to be voting right now for Ms. Langford to be in deputy director position, but we can't do that. We are hamstrung from doing so because we don't have a director yet. And until we do, we don't know that we won't go another 3.5 years with the person who's in the number 2 position, not in the main position. And what we want to see, so this is why the council has to take an extra step. We don't really want to go, but we want to make sure that we can guarantee that we still get someone in that position to be able to be the head of public works. And I don't care what we've got to do to get there. We need to get there. It's been 3.5 years, and then we can move forward with
We just opened a sanitation district.
Yeah, we've got a lot of things on the horizon. So I think the executive branch and the legislative branch is all focused on let's get these positions filled as quickly as possible. Let's fund it in the right way, and let's get it done. So I'm happy to move forward in this.
Any other questions, comments? All those in favor of the introduction of legislative bill number 2023-11, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried for the introduction of legislative bill 2023-11 by a vote of 6-1. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. At this time, we open the floor for public comments. If you have any public comments you'd like to make, come to the podium, please. State your name, your county of residence, and your concerns.
Hi, Bunky Luffman, Director of Administration for the county. I'm not going to say too much other than to say this is a county council meeting, so you heard the county council's version of these appointments. We don't agree with that. Today we requested outside counsel, and we hope that that's on the agenda for next county council meeting to represent us on this issue, and it very well may go to court.
Thank you, Mr. Luffman.
Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Heather Langford, pretty hot topic of today's agenda. I had a lot to say, but I think I'm just going to make it a lot shorter. A lot of people haven't heard that I have been in the industry for 16 years. I have a degree in civil engineering, structural concentration, mathematics minor. But for some reason, I'm standing here told I'm not deserving of a position. Right now, no one will be running public works, the landfill, the convenience centers, the roads division, the engineering division, the sanitary district. I stand here and I had 7 letters of support from Jake Day, GMB, Becker Morgan Group, Greater Salisbury Committee, Parker and Associates, the former deputy director of the airport, Andy Kitzrow, and Jack Heath. It's been 3.5 years since we've had a director. The PE is not a requirement in the charter. It is in the job description. Charter trumps job description. It's a little disappointing to see where we're at, especially when I hear of these 45 days and people that were on the campaign trails. And I'll quote someone: "I was disappointed the council didn't fulfill their obligation, which was 45 days. When it comes to making that big decision, I don't think you should be able to step aside and change those rules." But here we are. As Dwight Eisenhower said, if a political party does not have its foundation in determining to advance a cause that is right and that is moral, then it is not a political party. It is merely a conspiracy to seize power. It's time to focus on the community, the team that has entrusted me, the county as a whole, not as a legislative power that sits here. I'm here for the community and their needs, not that of a power or title, and will remain as such.
Mr. Langford.
Thank you.
Evening, folks. Joseph Venosa, Wicomico resident. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but I wanted to kind of jump on a little bit because of some statements that have been made. And again, I really wish, being that we have a university, 2.5 miles down the road, that some people here, especially those who are elected, maybe take a civics class. Could even sit in on it for free. We have a separation of powers. We have a county charter, and we have a state government that's pretty clearly defined by that. I realize that there's political ramifications with some of these decisions. I realize, unfortunately, the county executive's recent election included people on the county council running with her, and so maybe some people aren't as clear as to the separation of those two entities. But we have a county council for a reason, and that's as a check on another branch of government. Say what you want about our founding fathers, they did know a lot of Enlightenment ideals like Newtonian physics. You check the power of something else. That's a very important institution that we can't lose sight of. And so regardless of some of your party affiliations, I'm glad that the majority stood up for the basics of that separation of powers, especially given the importance of a job that hasn't been filled in 3.5 years. I think we can wait a few more weeks to find someone, hopefully, that's qualified if the name is brought up. It's a shame that the county executive is not here for whatever reason to defend or explain that. But I'm thankful that the majority of the council sees fit to run our county government with that belief in a check and balance. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mendoza. Any other public comments? Seeing none. Council comments?
May I go first?
Shane?
I'm going to try to address the sadness that we had on 4th of July in the county, in Chippewa Boulevard. And I think this is the second teenager that has died by a bullet. We had the one at Pizza City right down the street from Carroll Street. And it also saddens me to see that the mass shooting has come to our community. My heart goes out to the parents of the young victim who was killed, 14 years old. My heart goes out to the other families who became victims also of the shooting, because some members are still in the hospital. I think one is critical, according to the news. We have to look at the generation. We're losing a generation fast and furious to gun violence and drugs, because we have become a society of anything goes. No punishment, no accountability, no respect. And I said, what is the answer? Throwing money at the situation, is that the answer? More police on the streets, is that the answer? More parent involvement in their children is one answer. More accountability among the youth is another. Also, teachers need more control of the classroom by changing some of the discipline rules. A teacher can't bang the ruler on the desk if some child is asleep. Just let him sleep. So if you sleep, you're not learning. You have teachers that are hiding in the corners because kids are fighting because they can't break it up. Or if a teacher gets slapped, they can't hit back. After a while, we will not have any teachers in the classroom because of the violence. Society has caused this problem because of the rules, the laws, the child abuse laws. We don't want our children corrected, and this is the outcome of the generation that we see now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Shields. Any other comments, council comments? Joe?
Yeah, I wrote a few things down because I knew tonight's meeting was going to be somewhat, I guess you could call it, contentious. Yesterday, we celebrated the birth of our nation. It was made strong by our Constitution that guides the governing bodies of our country. Our county has a charter that guides our government officials, just as our country's constitutions provide a blueprint for fair and equal government. The council's job is to ensure our county's charter is followed, and when someone tries to circumvent the procedure set forth in the charter, it is alarming and disheartening. Not following the charter mandates is not just discourteous to the citizens of Wicomico County and this council, but also borders on abuse of power. Now, the gentleman that came to the podium, I want to thank you. Citizens of Wicomico County a few years ago voted for a council form of government. Wicomico County ran from 1867 to 2006 as a council form of government and made out fine. It's very well known that Wicomico County is one of the smallest counties in the state that has an executive form of government. It's also known that there's always somewhat contentious nature when there's a county executive and a county council. But the county council is put in place, as the gentleman said at the podium again, as a checks and balances to make sure things are done right. Now, we both have attorneys. Executives got their attorney. The council has their attorneys. Apparently now the county executive wants another attorney. That's fine. But you have to follow the rules. There's things in this charter that I do not like. You know, I'd like to tear the page out. There's things I'm sure every council member sitting up here looks at and says, why is that there? Well, I can tell you why it's there. It's because the people of Wicomico County voted it to be there. And we need to follow the charter. As I mentioned earlier, and I won't repeat it, but we've appointed, confirmed, approved, whatever word you want to use, numerous people to boards, deputy directors, reappointments since our last election. And they were all done following the proper procedure. It's how it's done. We had no question about it. If we didn't approve the person, it's because a majority of this council did not want them there or did not approve of it. So it's, unfortunately, we have to follow the rules. I shouldn't use that word unfortunately, but I'm sure a lot of us would like to say, hey, let's do it this way, but we can't. And that's what we're here for. So we're here to represent the citizens of Wicomico County. Thank you.
Council comments. Jeff?
So we are 7 months in. Is that about right? Mm-hmm. And Joe, I have to correct you. We were at 33 people approved. We did another one tonight. We're at 34 now. Mr. Bosman was approved tonight. So I have to say that in 7 months, with everybody sitting up here, I have yet to have less than a civil discussion. Doesn't matter what political party we aspire to. We can disagree, and we still get through the day. So I'm proud to serve with all these people up here, especially Ms. Shaney.
Did you say Shane or Shaney?
I'm very proud. Thank you. That's all I got.
I would like to make a comment. I was thinking, you know, with all the confusion with the appointments and such, I think maybe we shouldn't put them in closed meetings. Maybe we should just have them in a work session or some sort. That way, there's just there's no question about whether or not we submitted this person or not. You know.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but there would be, because it has to be an open legislative session, not a work session.
Right. So how do we have a discussion about him? That's what my question is how do we have okay, if we do it in a legislative session, do we say, hey, look, I would like to make a motion to postpone this appointment because I need to do more research about this person, or do we have it in a work session first?
There's no reason you can't have a work session, but you said to approve it in a...
Well, I know that. I know you can't approve it in a legislative session. I'm just saying, just so the public is aware that we had a meeting on it, because not many people knew that we had a meeting April 4th on the assistant director. It's just something that I'm thinking about.
I mean, you bring up a good point. But the reason we do it in a closed session isn't because we want secrecy from the public. We do it as a courtesy to the applicant, because there's a lot of discussions that go on amongst the council members in reference to those individuals that possibly they may not want shared with the public. And so that's the reason that we do it in a closed session. Now, when we finally do make the final decision, of course, legally, that has to be, as Mr. Mitchell says, that has to be an open session. So that's when we bring it out into open session. But as is a situation that has occurred more recently here, as a courtesy after the closed sessions, as a courtesy, we did explain to the executive that we weren't, the council did not want to entertain moving forward.
Right.
And sometimes it's better not to get into it too much publicly because it creates a lot of consternation. Then you get into these type of circumstances that we have here.
Right.
But, as has been done, appointments were made. I think regardless of the fact of what the council's recommendations were, and we felt that was in direct conflict with what, as a governing body, should have been done. And to a certain degree, we certainly do challenge the fact that it was not done properly, as Joe had suggested.
I have one more comment.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking, I mentioned this to Jeff earlier. I was thinking maybe there's some way, because I know the two branches have a hard time communicating. I was just wondering if there's some way maybe we can get a moderator of some kind so that we can better communicate with each other. I'm just trying to think outside the box here so we can, work more cohesively.
Well, we approved 33.
No, I mean, I know that. Some of these appointments, some of these appointments don't bear the same weight as others. And I just, some of these are heavier, like the last two that were very heavy, and the other ones weren't as. They're all important. They're all very important. Do you get what I'm saying? I just think if there was maybe a go-between or something. I don't know.
Josh.
I was just going to add on and say, well, I hope we do better from here on out on that. And I'll leave it at that because I'm not going to pile on to it. With regard to appointments, I will add on to what Councilwoman Shields was saying. Of course, that's another, it's a shame 7 people in our, shot in our community. Another mass shooting. I was told today that a mass shooting is more than 4 people or more. I thought it was a couple or more, but either way, apparently we've had over 330 mass shootings in the United States so far this year. So I don't know what we do to address that, not much we can do on the county council to fix that per se, but and I hate to have to, we always hear folks say, oh, well, thoughts and prayers, but it's not really fixing it, and we continue to see this. So I'll just echo what she says and say my heart goes out to the folks that are involved, and those of us who have to continue to show up to the scene and see what they see. Our first responders. In addition, it's not just the folks who are that are being shot or the community that's around that. It's the broader community that has to deal with the impact of these situations. So we really need to do much better when it comes to gun violence. And last, I'll end it on just by saying I had a great 4th of July. It's great. Enjoyed our wonderful councilman, Mr. Merritt, who does a great job leading a nonprofit Operation We Care, and I was able to join him out there briefly with the great work that they're doing to continue to focus on supporting folks overseas and abroad. So I just want to say that I'm very proud to serve with Jeff Merritt. And I'm proud of the great work that he continues to do as a community servant in all the ways and all the aspects that you could ever want and ask for. So publicly saying thank you, Jeff, for all that you continue to do. And so thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Any other comments?
I'd like to relay exactly what Josh said about the neighborhood. And I think all the council would agree that our hearts do go out for that family and the whole incident. And our thoughts and prayers are still with them, absolutely.
Any comments?
That's it.
Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn. Second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Means adjourn.
7 o'clock. Ooh.
Nope.